pull out from the readings. The first one has to do with the effect of the consecration on our loved ones. All right? Now, when I first was reading True Devotion to Mary and about Marian consecration, there was one part of it that made me a little bit nervous. And it was the part that where basically it was saying that you give to Mary all of the value of your good actions. And I thought, let me give some background to that. There's value to our good actions, right? As Christians, as members of the body of Christ, when we suffer and we unite it to Jesus, it has a certain spiritual power, right? That's why in Scripture it says some demons can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. There's a spiritual power that comes from prayer and suffering united to Jesus' suffering on the cross. And that's something that we can apply and offer it up, so to speak, for our loved ones and for people. So the thing that made me nervous was that it saying that I'm going to give to Mary all of that spiritual power and lose the right to use it as I want to use it? I thought, is that really something I want to do? I'm not so sure. And there's a lot of people who've had that difficulty with Marian consecration. And I was thinking, and specifically, about my brother Joe, who I love very much, and at the time really needed prayer. And I thought, wait, if I give this all the value of my good actions over to Mary, does that mean I can't pray for my brother Joe anymore? And so I was a little nervous about it. If you are nervous about it, or if you've run into that objection yourself, I want to just say, don't worry about it. Here's why. I have 4 points that really take into consideration about this idea of giving Mary even the value of our good actions. First point, Mary is not outdone in generosity. If we give to Mary, she gives back. I don't need to say more about just, she's not outdone in generosity. Something to meditate on. Second, Mary augments all of the value of anything we give to her that's good, she augments. It's like the story in True Devotion to Mary that was in the reading about, this peasant wants to give a gift to the king, so he gives it to the queen, she puts it on a golden platter and, hands it to him, and he's like, wow, this is great, right? That's what Mary does. She augments, she increases, she makes even greater the things that we give to her. So there's more to go around, so to speak. Finally, or also, Mary takes even better care of our loved ones than we ourselves can. My brother Joe may be in need of prayer. He's like maybe tempted or something in a way, and I'm not praying for him. Okay, so then I don't know to pray for him. If Mary is thinking, Michael loves his brother Joe, and his brother Joe needs some extra prayer, so she's praying for him. That's one of the great things about the consecration, right? And then finally, I'll put it this way. Mary still wants us to pray for our loved ones. It's not that we give her all the value of our good actions and then we stop praying for our loved ones. She wants us to pray for our loved ones. Just because we say, we give you the right to dispose of the graces, if we're that generous with her and we say, oh, by the way, if I say, hey, help my brother Joe out, absolutely she'll do it with all of her, so it's a good deal. The thing is, the difficult way to answer this objection is it's something of a mystery. When we give Mary all the value of our good actions, it's a step out in faith. If there's a perfect calculus where we're like, okay, I give this, and then I get all of this, and okay, therefore I'll do it, it's not really a step in faith. The idea is it's an awesome deal. Louis de Montfort tells us that. I'm telling you that. And in fact, so that we really realize it, I want to tell a little story of what happened with my brother after I did the consecration. Okay, so my brother Joe, a little bit of background. I'm 15 months older than my brother Joe, so I'm older. He's my younger little brother, except he's not so little. He's about this tall. He's got shoulders out to here, and he's really really nice looking guy. And I remember when we were in high school, I was very popular with the girls, and that's because they'd be like, "Are you Joe Gately's brother?" And I'd be like, "Yep." So I was very popular. I was like, "Yeah, I'm Joe's brother." The girls really liked my brother Joe. He's just really a good guy and a funny, super athlete. He was like the star soccer player and everything. And the thing about Joe, though, was, I had a conversion my senior year in high school, and we weren't real strong in our faith growing up. And being such a popular guy and things, I knew there was lots of temptations for him. When I had my conversion, I would pray for my brother all the time. I'd say, Joe, you got to be good. And even though he didn't have a ton of faith, he was like, well, he didn't want. We were very close. He's like, I don't want to disappoint you, Mike. So he was, he stayed good. And I remember he would go to parties, and I'd go in my room, kneel down, and pray the rosary basically till he got back. And my mom would be like, Joe, your brother's been praying the rosary the whole time until you got back. He'd be like, really? Oh man, okay. So my brother, and it's funny because some of my brother's friends would tell me that when they would go to parties, there would be Joe, and Joe wouldn't be doing the drinking and the drugs and all the other stuff. And the guys who were feeling the peer pressure, because Joe was such a popular guy, they'd be like, hey, we could just hang out with Gately. And they'd hang out with my brother, and that was, it gave him strength to overcome the temptation. So I was really proud of my brother. But one of the things I was just most proud of him for, and I look at this as a grace from Mary, all of this, was that Joe was like a super athlete. He was a super soccer player. He had all of these offers to play Division I soccer, and was offered scholarships and all these things. And when I had gone to that school, I went to a school in the Ohio Valley. I left California, where we were from, and I went to this school in the Ohio Valley. It was a real small school, and I got back to California on a Christmas break, and my brother saw how happy I was. And he was like, tell me about that school. And he actually went and came for a visit. And I remember he was so impressed of how happy I was, and that we had sort of our own family life was a little difficult. And he said to me, when he was trying to make the decision of whether to take scholarships and play the soccer, or to go out to this little school out in the Ohio Valley, and he said, well, I want to be a good husband and father someday, and I know going to that place is going to help me be a good Catholic man. So he made the sacrifice, and he went there, gave up. His friends were like, are you nuts? And he went, and he actually didn't like it the first year there. He's this real cool guy from California, and he just wasn't as intense as like California with its parties and things. And at the end of the semester, after the end of the year, the soccer coaches, from his reputation, offered him to play soccer again, and he still went back. And I remember it was so impressive. And now my brother, he's just a really great guy. He's one of my biggest inspirations, him along with my sister Heather. And I looked at that grace of him to make such a heroic decision, and it really was heroic, because of the intercession of Our Lady and his openness to that grace. But also, even my dad, who had in our time in high school, he was having a lot of struggles and things, and he also had a conversion, which I'll share in another lecture. But I looked at all of that as these graces that Mary was giving to my family, which were really amazing graces, all came from that consecration. And it doesn't always work out that way, exactly, but Mary does really do her best to take care of our loved ones when we consecrate ourselves to her. So, and give her even the value of all of our good actions. Okay, so that's the first point. And again, it's a step in faith, but I would say, as St. Louis de Montfort puts it, but he doesn't put it this way, I do. It's a sweet deal. It's a really sweet deal. So, okay, the second thing is the way that Mary makes our crosses sweet. Now, the first way she takes care of our loved ones. Second, the way she makes our crosses sweet. So I mentioned, when I went to college, my goal was to be like a doctor or a professor, and to get married and have a big family. Remember, that was the biggest part. So when I arrived at the school, it was like a good Catholic school. The first semester, I was chasing the girls all around, and it was great because they would be like, "Oh, you're from Southern California?" I'd be like, "Yep." I realized it was kind of cool to be from there, and especially when my brother came to visit, it got even cooler. But I remember at the end of that semester, that was the semester that someone gave me a copy of True Devotion of Mary, and I read it, and I made the consecration. And when I made the consecration, everything changed. It was, the only way I describe it is I went from, bouncing all over the place to suddenly going into what I call monk mode. And that was where I stopped chasing the girls around, and I mean in a good way. It wasn't bad, but I just focused on my studies and prayed, and started to be more open to a vocation of the priesthood, which seemed to be growing in my heart. And so the next semester came, the second semester came, and I was still in monk mode, faithful in monk mode. And then until one of my friends told me, "Hey, Mike, hey, did you see that new French exchange student? And I said, no. Oh, she's beautiful. And then I saw her, and I was like, oh my goodness. She was this girl, her name was Blanche. It was this beautiful French name. And she was beautiful to go with it. And I remember I saw Blanche, and I forgot about monk mode for a second. And then I thought, wait a minute, she's way out of my league. So I jumped back into monk mode. And that was that. So I remember being really impressed. She's really a holy girl, just wonderful. And okay, so anyway, I forgot about that. Back to monk mode. I had this really great job that semester at the athletic facility where I got to work real early in the morning, and 6 in the morning, and I would do all my studies. Nobody would come in. It was great. Well, one day, I was there in my early morning shift, and Blanche comes up. She's the first one there. She says, oh, hello. I said, oh, hey, Blanche. And she said, oh, did you have breakfast yet? And I was like, not yet. I'll have it when I get off my shift or whatever. And she said, oh, poor thing. And then she went and did her workout. I thought, well, that was nice. She's a nice girl. And then the next week she showed up again. And she said, oh, did you have breakfast? I said, no. And she said, well, and she brought out her brown bag. She said, I made you breakfast. And she gave it to me. And I thought, whoa, does she like me maybe? And I was like, nah. So back to monk mode. And but I remember I thought she's just one of those nice holy girls. So then a couple weeks later, I remember I ran into Blanche on campus, and she said, Mike, can I speak with you? And I said, sure. So we went somewhere, and we went and talked, and she said, I just want to tell you, I can't sleep, I can't eat, and I can't concentrate in my classes because I'm in love with you. And I was like, okay, well, let's take it slow. And so Blanche and I, we went on some walks. That's how we did it. That's, just going for walks and maybe pray the rosary or go to the chapel together. So we went on some of these walks, and I remember during that period when we would be going for walks, I remembered that why I had been in monk mode, that I felt the Lord was calling me in the priesthood. And I took it to prayer. I went on a retreat, and I came back from this retreat, and I said, Blanche, can we talk? She said, sure. I said, I just want to tell you, it will never, never, never work between us because Jesus wants me to be a priest. I think she said, oof. And I said, but I'm going to say novena, that all the love that you have for me will go to Jesus. And she was like, okay. So that was that. And then the next day she gave me a letter, and the letter it said, Dear Michael, I think you made the right decision. If Jesus wants you to be a priest, I will be the happiest woman on earth. But the path you chose is not going to be easy, so I'll be praying for you, Blanche. And I thought, okay, well, that was nice. And she was right. It wasn't an easy path after that. I remember seeing all my friends. They were dating these great girls and having fun and doing all this, and I was staying in monk mode, and I had this vision of the priesthood as just this horrible, miserable, lonely life. And I thought, I just got to get through this year. And it was really tough. And I remember at the end of the next semester, Blanche sent me another letter. It was really beautiful. She just said that she was praying for me. And it was interesting. She even said, I'm a Marian of the Immaculate Conception now. And she said, I'm going to be praying that Mary, through the intercession of the Immaculate Conception, that God would help you along your path, and that you would be a great consolation in the heart of Jesus, or something like that. Which is strange because I read that letter much later, and that was before I wrote the Consoling the Heart of Jesus book and everything. But anyway, so that was nice for her. But she was dating one of my good friends, actually. And I thought, well, that's nice of her. She's praying for me, but I was still in the misery. And I remember then Blanche graduated a year before me. And my senior year, I actually took a semester off to do some construction work to pay off some of the loans. And during that time, when I was doing the construction work, on a weekend, I was in San Diego going surfing with my friend. And I remember Blanche called when I was at my friend's house. And I answered, and I said, hey, Blanche. She said, oh, Michael, and we talked a little bit. And she said, oh, I'm just calling because I wanted to tell you that next week I will be entering the convent, and I will be giving my life in prayer for you to be a holy priest. She said, I'll be praying for all priests, but specifically I'll be praying and sacrificing for you that you be a holy priest. Now give your all, Mike. And I said, Blanche, I'm going to work hard. And I did. So then that next semester, I went to the seminary. She was out in the convent in Europe. I got in the seminary and I worked hard. All the other seminarians were like, what the heck? In fact, remember the book, Enslaving the Heart of Jesus, I wrote that during my time in the seminary. I had a full load of classes and I'm writing books and things. It was nuts. But I remember during that period, while I was working hard and I thought, what a blessing this is. One day, the founder of Blanche's community that she joined, and her name, when she became a nun, it became Sister Bernadette. One day, the founder of her community called me on the phone, and he said, Brother Michael. I said, oh, hello, Father. This is kind of a famous priest. He was a founder of a community. I said, hello. And he said, I just want to tell you I have holy envy of you. And I said, why? He said, because I've never seen a nun pray for someone as much as I see Sister Bernadette pray for you. Bye-bye. That was it. And I remember then I started working even harder after that. And I remember I went through the seminary. I actually was in one community, and then I joined the Marians. I was a professional seminarian. It was like 15 years of studies towards the priesthood. And it wasn't always easy, but I saw as particularly a gift from Mary, that he took this wonderful gal, and that she had this vocation, and as a gift for me and my vocation, had this person who was praying and thoughtful, and we weren't in contact very much, obviously, but every once in a while she'd send me a Christmas card or something, and I knew she was praying for me. It made so much of a difference, and it helped me to persevere. And I reflected later on, and I thought, I did the consecration, and right after the consecration was when I met Blanche. And the idea is, what I make of it is that was one of many, many signs of Mary's tendernesses. That Mary was saying, all right, look, this guy's given me everything, and and he's accepting a cross. As the priesthood is a cross, is it also a huge blessing? Absolutely. Would I trade it for anything? No, because I want to quench the thirst of Jesus, and it's an awesome vocation. But Mary was so kind that even in the midst of all the crosses, and there was a lot, she was giving all these different consolations. Blanche, Sister Bernadette was one, but all these other ones. And the point is with all of this is that Mary doesn't necessarily take away the crosses, but she makes them into something sweet. That's the thing, is when you're consecrated, doesn't mean you won't have the cross in life. Everybody has the cross in our lives. But Mary somehow makes them sweet. It's like a mother, if you have to have the bitter medicine, right? She can put honey in it or something so it doesn't taste as bad. Well, similarly, St. Louis de Montfort actually uses an example of unripe fruit. He says, look, if you got this unripe fruit, it's bitter. But what Mary does is she dips it in honey, and you have the fruit, and it's not so bad. And that's what she does. That's one of the great gifts of consecration. We still carry the crosses. That's part of the Christian life. But somehow she makes them sweet, and we don't get crushed by the crosses. And Sister Bernadette, I tell that story just because that was one example of, I believe, one of the tenderness of Mary for those that are consecrated her. Now, on the topic of the cross and Mary, there's something I should mention that, you guys hopefully will be making your consecration to Jesus through Mary, and it's great. And I remember when I made my consecration, it was wonderful. I was swimming in consolations, but it wasn't long after that I went through a period of real dryness in my devotion to Mary. In fact, 10 years worth. It was, I can't explain it, but there was just, for a while, it was like all these consolations, and it was wonderful. And then there was this period of real dryness, and I didn't understand it. I thought maybe she abandoned me. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe she was like, oh, he's a knucklehead. And she forgot about me or something. But I'll just tell you a story. That had been going on for years. I remember I was embarrassed as a seminarian. I'd share that with somebody. They'd be like, you're a seminarian, and you don't have a real strong... I said, well, I want to, but it's just that devotion, it's not there so much. It's real dry. Well, anyway, I remember the novices here in the Marian community asked me to give them a talk on our charism. And I said, sure. So I said to the guys, look, guys, as Marians of the Immaculate Conception, our job is to labor. Is to labor for Christ and the church. Not just to work hard, but to labor. I said, where does our zeal for that labor come from? And they were like, our love for Jesus. And I said, absolutely. And I said, but as Marians of the Immaculate Conception, there's also a special role that Mary should play in our zeal, that we should have a fiery love for her and want to labor for the sake of making the church like she is, namely immaculate, sinless. And the guys were all excited because they were all consecrated to Mary and all fired up about it. And I said, guys, I need to make a confession. My devotion to Mary's been really dry for a while. And I knew that the prayers of novices are really powerful. So I said to the novice, I said, would you guys pray for me that my devotion would grow? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. And so I went on with the talk. And I remember, this is a small detail, but I remember I was talking, part of the talk, I was like talking, and like you guys are having to sit through all this. They were having to sit through some long talks. They were getting a little bit fidgety. And I remember I was like, guys, this is serious. I may not have this great burning devotion with Mary, but it's important that we hear about this stuff. And as soon as I said that, there was this big image of Our Lady of Guadalupe that came crashing to the ground, right? And I said, and we all went, whoa. And I said, see, this is serious. The bad spirit doesn't want us to know about this stuff. We got to focus. So, so the guys were like, okay. And they were praying for me. They took it really seriously. A month or two later, I remember I was making a retreat, and the retreat, I had to cancel it halfway through because I had all these phone calls and emails that I had to address, and I canceled the retreat halfway through. I was really discouraged. I thought, man, I can't even make a retreat. This was a really busy year. It was right when I started working in the office at the Association of Marian Helpers, and I was like, I can't even make a retreat. I hadn't had a day off all year, and it was rough. This was just, so I finished the retreat. I went to bed. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what's going on. But I got to cancel this retreat. And I went to bed, and I woke up in the morning, and I had the entire idea for the book, 33 Days to Morning Glory, in my mind. I was like, hey, that could work. And I spent the next 3 days of my retreat that was actually canceled writing 3 days as I started to write the manuscript. And I finished, and I'd scheduled my first vacation of the year right after the retreat. My sister and her kids and her husband were going to come up, and she called me right before. She said, oh, we can't come up. The kids got the chicken pox. So I spent the next week writing the book. And in a week and a half, I finished the manuscript for the most part. I mean, I had to tweak some things here and there. But I finished it in about a week and a half. I was like, what the heck? You know, how did this happen so quickly? I knew it was a miracle because Consoling the Heart of Jesus, the other book, took 10 years to finish. This one was about a week and a half. And the idea, what was the idea with that? The idea with that was that, that I told the novices about it later, and they were like, yeah, we were praying for you. I even gave them a retreat on Mary, and I thought, this is great. And then one day, Sister Bernadette called. It was a rare thing, but she called, and I said, hey, Sister Bernadette, I just finished a book on Mary. And she said, oh, I've been praying for that. She had been praying, what she'd been praying for was that my devotion to Mary would strengthen, because she knew I had a difficult time, and she was super close to Mary. And she said, oh, I've been praying for that. And when I realized, I started thinking about it. I said, really, you have? And she said, yeah. In fact, I was praying you would write a book on Mary. And I started thinking about it, and I remembered that the time that I had given that talk to the novices, I thought back and I was like, wait a minute, it was her birthday that same day. And I thought, it's a small connection, but I thought, hey, that's like one of the little signs that Mary really was like, hey, knucklehead, I do still love you, and I am taking care of you, and I want you to know about it. And writing that book in that week and a half, it was like all of that Marian devotion that I had all these blocks to, suddenly the blocks were gone, and I just, Mary came rushing back in. And I came to realize that time of dryness and that cross was really a gift, because I don't think I would have appreciated her as much as I do now. And that Mary is such a wonderful, tender mother, which is amazing. You've never heard me speak about this before I wrote the book, but now it's like, wow, she really is amazing. And if you do the consecration and there's times of dryness, don't think that she has rejected you or doesn't love you. She's a mother, and mothers love their kid, right? You got a face only a mother can love, right? mothers love us no matter what, and so with Mary. And she wants us to be close with her because she knows that we carry crosses, and she wants to be there with us. And I had that block for all those years, but now it's like she's helped me carry all these crosses, and she wants to help us all carry the crosses. So The moral of the story is the consecration is awesome. Mary takes care of our loved ones in a beautiful way, and I'm amazed at how she's done it in my own family. It doesn't always work as we expect. Sometimes it takes time, and that's okay. We got to we're patient, but she is a good mother to us and to our loved ones. And in fact, one of the things Sister Burnett once told me, she wanted me to put it in the book because it hadn't been published yet. I said, I can't find a place for it, but I could do it now. And she was saying, you got to tell people that they can also consecrate their families. That there's apparently saints who, even if you've got a loved one who doesn't want to be consecrated, then you say, Mary, I entrust that person to you. And then she looks out for him. And Sister Burnett sent me this article about this saint who had done that. His mother was an atheist, and she died an atheist, and he was really sad. And then Mary appeared to him and said, No, don't worry. I took care of her soul. She's with me because remember, you entrusted her to me. And so Mary's just awesome, and it starts with us entrusting ourselves to her. She looks out for our loved ones, and she makes the crosses in our lives into something sweet. And even if there's times of darkness and dryness, she's working behind the scenes to bring an even greater good. And so what a great mother we have, and my hope and prayer for all of us is that we would come to know and discover more deeply what a great mother we have in Mary Immaculate, and that we would have the courage to entrust ourselves totally to her, including even the value of all of our good actions. It's a leap of faith, but it's well worth it. And so next week, this coming week, you're going to be starting the week with Saint Maximin Kolbe, who is another awesome saint. In fact, when I was doing the research for the section on his chapter, I remember that was the chapter that I think healed the wounds that I had with my devotion to Mary more than anything else. And what healed it so much was the incredible tenderness of Maximin Kolbe's devotion to Mary. So may you have a blessed time with Maximin Kolbe, and we'll see you next week, and may Almighty God bless you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Like that presentation of Father Michael Gately. I did too. Marian consecration is a very important thing, I think. It's not for everybody, but I first made my Marian consecration on September the 8th, and that was, I believe, around 2010. I did it through actually the Marians of the Immaculate Conception. I became a member of their of the Blue Scapular Fraternity, whatever. But as I was listening to Father Gately talk about Mary and how she prays for our family and for our loved one, it reminded me of something that happened to my family. My father and my mother were not Catholic, and I went through St. Meinrad Seminary and so forth, and they eventually did join the church. They raised me Lutheran, but I converted first, then my mother, and it took about, until 2011, 12, I think, when my father finally joined the church. And he was going through a time of kind of zeal for being Catholic, and then his faith would kind of wane again. But what I remember was that I remember before he even became Catholic, I entrusted him to Mary. I said, Mary, I'm giving my father to you. I'm giving my mother to you. I'm convinced that it was the intercession of Mary that brought my two parents into the faith. had an aneurysm or something in his throat. Thought it was strep throat, but there was something growing. He was sent to, now it's St. Mary, it was St. Mary's, now it's St. Vincent. And then he finally went to Select Specialty Hospital. He stayed there until March. And then at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, I got the dreaded call that there was nothing that he could do. And I was home with Mom in Santa Claus. And so it takes an hour to get from there to Evansville. They said, don't rush. By the time you get there, you probably won't be alive anyway. So that really sunk my heart. So I'm in my car, I'm driving to Evansville, I'm praying the rosary all the way down there. I get to the door, and they said, he has just passed. And so my heart kind of sank. I thought to myself, well, God wanted him to be alive. When I got there, that would have happened. So as I'm filling out the paperwork, I just make a kind of offhanded comment. Said, well, I guess I will always remember this date. And I looked at the date. It was March 25th. That is the Feast of the Annunciation. And so for me, I knew that was Mary orchestrating it, that when my father passed, that it was Mary that greeted him and led him into the gates of heaven. So that has kind of stayed with me for all. And I can also relate to Michael Gately's idea of being dry in his devotion, because during Lent, I was very, gung-ho. I was doing my rosary every day, 4 times a day, and Easter comes, and during the coronavirus, then it all starts kind of, I've noticed. And when Father asked me to do this, it's like, that's Mary. Mary wants me to prepare. Mary wants me to also get back into being more devoted and being more intentional about my relationship with her. So those are some personal things that I just want to share. So I encourage you to continue to reading the 33 devotions. Does anybody have any